Happy 2020, everyone. I am so excited to be here, so excited that it's a new year. Though 2019 was pretty dang awesome for me. So in some ways I'm sad to see it go, but I'm excited about what 2020 will bring. And my guess is, especially if you're in this group, that 2019 may have not been that great for you. And probably this time of year, you're looking at 2020, you're looking what you want the next phase of your life to look like and how to do it, right? And there was a question in the group about what books to read, and I heart books. Like, I love books. I love reading and researching and learning about a variety of topics. And when I experienced pain in my own life, I will never forget the experience of cracking open the Verbally Abusive Relationship. That was the very first book that I read. And I'd read some articles at that point. And when I read the Verbally Abusive Relationship, it was a library book. And I literally started reading, I was taking notes, and then I ended up just writing inside the book, like highlighting, underlining, and I remember going to the public library to pay for the book, because obviously I had ruined it. I knew I was going to have to pay for it, but I just wanted it so bad, and I didn't want to wait to order it. And so I remember going up to the counter, and I was like, I'm just going to have to pay for that book. I think I'm just gonna have to pay for it. And they were like, maybe you'll find it, maybe. And I was like, no, I'll just pay for it. And that, I was really embarrassed at the time. Like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna think about me? That I think there were 2 books on emotional abuse that I had read, and I just ended up paying for. But there's such a question about, what's my next book? What's my next stage? What's my next step? Okay. So I'm going to try to explain the process that I've seen help so many women and help you. Because when somebody says, well, what book should I read or what should I do? Oh my gosh, like it would be like asking a doctor, I have the sniffles or I've had a stomach ache, okay? There's a huge difference in having a stomach ache for a week, a year, a stomach ache every time you eat milk, a stomach ache every time you're around your mother. I mean, there's so many things, so many variables. So there is incredible value in processing what happened to you, right? Incredible value in that. I am so thankful I read The Verbally Abusive Relationship. I am so thankful I read Lundy Bancroft's Why Does He Do That? Anger and Controlling Men. Okay, if you had an abusive male in your life, read that book. It's big and thick. He works with males in the subject, and he is a male. I am so glad I read those books. So if you are fresh out of the gate in something, your eyes are just now being opened, there's incredible value in reading that information and consuming that information. However, the path to true healing is not in processing information, not in processing what happened to you. And so often what I see, incredible women, and they get stuck there. And they are smart women. They are accomplished women. They are wonderful women. And they get stuck in processing. Because processing what happened to you is still about your toxic person. Healing is still about your toxic person in some ways, because, oh yeah, I need to heal from what happened to me. I need to heal from what they did to me. I need to heal from what she said to me. I need to heal from the things he did to me. I need to heal from, I'm trauma bonded. I'm codependent. Have complex PTSD. And I don't want to say those things are not true. I want to say that the bridge to, people are like, oh my gosh, Sarah, like, you have a really great life now. Like, you have healthy relationships. You have a man who loves you. I'm going to tell you a story. This week, my son was trying to put me down a little bit, and he was trying to make a joke at my expense, which you guys know can, lead to a lot of disrespect later on. And I don't want him cracking jokes at his wife's expense. I don't want him cracking jokes at my expense. I don't really know anyone who does that to me anymore. And he kind of made a joke. And my husband now stopped him. It was about like a biscuit, like the way I made a biscuit or something ridiculous. And my husband stopped him and he said, don't talk to your mother that way, or don't talk to my wife that way. And that's a conversation that we have is, don't talk to my husband that way. Like you don't get to talk to my husband that way in front of me. You don't get to talk to my wife that way in front of me. But how powerful for my son to have another male parent in his life say, oh no, we don't talk to women that way. We don't make jokes at your mom's expense. Oh, I know what it was. He was wanting me to get him a drink. Like we were at the table, I was eating, he was eating, and my son was like, Mom, can you refill my glass? And my son is like almost 10. Like he's way capable of filling up his own glass. And, my husband now was like, oh no, your mom's not your servant. She's not going to get up and stop everything that she's doing to go fill up your glass. And like, what a powerful statement for my son, that coming from another male. Okay. But the work it took me to get to that place and to find him. And he was not naturally, my husband, that's something I kind of had to teach him, right? He grew up in, a house where his dad definitely helped out, but he wasn't this champion of women before we met who just, was working to have women respect. Like I kind of had to teach him not to respect women, but the different nuances within family dynamics that can create bad circumstances later on, the specific nuances of disrespect that I didn't want my son to do to me, little things that may not seem like a big deal, but you guys know they can turn out to be a big deal later on, okay? So, that's my life now, and people say, how did you get to that life? Like, I'm heading to Mexico tomorrow. My children are doing amazing. Like, how did you get to that life? Not through studying toxic people. Not through studying complex PTSD. Oh, I have complex PTSD. Yeah, I have complex PTSD. Of course I had complex PTSD. My life, my nightmare was so interwoven that it feels like, best friends for years stopped talking to each other after decisions I made. It almost blew up an entire community. I am not exaggerating. And some of you in this group live in that community, and you'll say, yes, she is not lying. And it just I started this house of cards that fell over and created this whole sequence of events. It was hard. I burned my life up. I set it on fire and I rebuilt it. Okay. You're not going to have the strength to do that by thinking of yourself in the terms of, I have complex PTSD. I'm trauma bonded. I have trauma shock. Okay. That is not, I know other people are saying that. I know that that's very popular, but what that does is create a situation of you have trauma shock, you're trauma bonded, and it's all about, your whole life is about what the toxic person did to you rather than who you can become after a toxic relationship. Okay, so the real key to happiness and healing is learning how to build a healthy life after a toxic relationship, not healing from a toxic relationship. And the people who worked with me and who know my work, they're like, oh yes, this is why it works. This is why it's different. This is why it can move quickly, why you feel better very quickly, and why you can recreate a new life for yourself much more quickly. Because the idea of going week after week after week and talking about your trauma really is just strengthening that relationship with the toxic person in your life, strengthening that relationship with the hell you've been through, and reminding yourself of that hell and talking through that hell. There is a place for that. There is a place for processing and reading books on toxic people and understanding what happened to you. It should be much shorter than it is in most people's life. There are people, and I'll say, oh yeah, I've not loved in 10 years. I've been in my house for 10 years. I've been in therapy for 10 years. It's like, what? Oh my gosh. I'm going to tear up. I just want to take them in my hands as little babies, almost like a little mother hen, and shielding you and saying, I'm so sorry that's the only path you've been shown. I'm so sorry that is what someone has told you. Like, come in, let's talk about your trauma shock. Come in and let's talk about your trauma shock. Come in and let's talk about your codependency. Come in and let's talk about your, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I'm out to change it. And I'm out. So in 20 years, there's going to be a different conversation. In 20 years, there's going to be a new way. And for your daughters, if they go through the same thing, I want something different for them and for you, other than thinking, okay, find a therapist and go in and talk about complex PTSD for, the next 6 years. Because then your life was about the toxic person, and then your life becomes about your healing rather than becoming about you and your dreams and your future. So 2020, I'm not sure what time it is. I'm about to have to jump on a Q&A call with the group coaching. So if any of you are here and you're my group coaching, hi, we're about to do our a weekly Q&A call. Make your life about your future, not about your past. Make your goals about your future, not about healing from your toxic person. Because if your goals are about healing from your toxic person, your goals are still about your toxic person and they are not about you. And if you want to attract an amazing person in your life and amazing circumstances in your life and amazing friendships and amazing opportunities, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, did you really go to Paris and London? And then you were in Dallas, and then you were in at the Power of Self that someone offered you, and then you're in this circumstance, and then, Medium's publishing your articles, and then you're about to go to Mexico, and then this is happening, you're attracting amazing clients. Yeah. And it's not because I was like focused on complex PTSD and like, I lived through an absolute nightmare. I will never forget the day, and I thought, more than one day, I do not care if I wake up in the morning. I do not care if I'm alive. I cannot believe this is where my life is. I'm a complete failure. I was, I had the world my oyster. I was so had so many talents and so many gifts, and I just threw them away and chose this life instead. I don't even care if I'm alive anymore. I'm such a waste. I'm such a loser. I'm such a failure. I lived that. I felt that. I embodied that. And if you are trying to do the hardest thing in your life, which is build a new life after a toxic relationship, you got two choices. You can focus on everything wrong with you, focus on everything bad that's happened on you, focus on how awful your toxic person was, focus on how hard it's going to be to heal. And that's why I had one woman in my program. We probably will watch this and comment on it and tell you it was her, but I will respect her privacy as I do all my clients. And she's going through my program, and then she started reading and researching, because she's brilliant, started reading and researching trauma bonding. She was like, but it's supposed to be so hard to heal. It's supposed to be so hard. And she had worked with some amazing people. She'd worked with Tony Robbins and worked with some of these people. And I said, well, he didn't do you any good, did he? Because here you are. Here you are. It's time to stop healing and start growing. It's time to drop healing as your identity and being, having been in a toxic relationship, parent, partner, whoever, as your identity, and start building a new identity. That is the key to attracting amazing things in your life. That is the key to happiness. That is the key to being a light. I remember when I first started this group, somebody was like, oh my gosh, Sarah, you're so light and bright and nothing bad has ever happened to you. And I was like, I researched ways to kill myself. That is true. That is true. I had called friends and said, I do not think I'm okay. I slept in my car. I hid my own life for years. I had to call friends and say, can I stay at your house tonight? And they never asked why. I had a whole double life going that no one knew about. An enormous amount of pain to go along with that. I shut down my life, and I had to rebuild it, and I set it on fire. And when I set it on fire, it created this whole, people talk about smear campaigns or whatever. At one point, I had a Twitter account following mine and my husband's now dates, that they would live tweet my dates and to scare me and to abuse me. Long after, situations that I had tried to walk away from. That's true. That was really my life. And, some people are like, oh, you seem so happy and light. It must have been easy for you. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was hard to leave. And then when I left, the fallout from what I left still yet, I've not heard anyone's stories anywhere close to mine. And some of you know me in real life, and feel free to comment on this and say, oh my gosh, she is not lying. That's absolutely what happened. And now the reputations have been flipped. I have been restored. I have been redeemed. I mean, I am telling you, I can hold my head absolutely high and hold my truth high, and hold my reputation high. And my husband and I were talking about it today, and he said, I don't know how you've been so nice to some of these people who've been so ugly to you. And I said, because I'm playing the long-term game. And the long-term game is I'm absolutely who I say I am. I'm absolutely show up as a good person. And I can be a strong person. I am not a pushover. I am not a pushover. No one would describe me that way anymore. But there used to be a time in my life when somebody would snap, like I was a dog, and I would run to them. And they would laugh. And they had friends, and their friends would snap and see whose, girlfriends or wives would run the most quickly and get to them. It was like a competition. But not anymore. I'm definitely not a pushover anymore, and no one described me as such. But it was not because I studied codependency and trauma shock and all that stuff. It's because I built a more powerful life than I had before. May 2020 be the year you build a powerful life, more powerful than before. If I can help you with that, I would absolutely love to. I'm going to Mexico tomorrow. So I can set up a call, I think, the next weekend. Some of you were asking if I had enrollment calls, where you just jump on the phone and figure out if you and I are a good fit to work together, and if it's the right time for you. And so I will be doing some of those January 9th, 10th, and 11th. I'll be back then, and can do those then. But if it's not me, find someone. Find someone who is going to get you to build a life you're excited about living, not to teach you about complex PTSD. You don't need to learn about complex PTSD. You need to have a life after complex PTSD. Two totally different things. I got to jump on that group call. And may 2020 be the year that you stop healing and start growing. Love you big.